Hey, my name is Alex Clark, and I bought a mill. And if you don't know what a mill is, neither did I. That's okay. But basically, a mill is a factory that produces wood products. So I live in Maine, and my mill is located in a place called New Vineyard, Maine. It's in Franklin County, and it's about 15 minutes north of Farmington, Maine. There's a small state school, and there's actually some other pretty interesting companies here. We have Origin USA, which is a US supply chain sourced clothing and apparel manufacturing company. So they got their start off doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gis. Then they transitioned into like blue jeans and denim, and then other apparel, clothes, hoodies, or t-shirts, hoodies. And then they started doing footwear. So I'm just going to take a moment and kind of explain a little bit about Maine and US manufacturing a little bit in general. So I think we all understand that US manufacturing didn't really keep pace with the rest of the world and became a smaller part of our economy and employment over probably since like the 90s moving forward. So growing up, I never knew anybody that worked in manufacturing. My father was in the military, and then ultimately I went in the military as well. So we were insulated. But the real effect is that many communities were impacted heavily when factories and manufacturing facilities shut down. And that again happened because of offshoring, where it became cheaper for corporations to manufacture their items overseas. And the reason why this is possible is because many foreign governments either subsidize industries unfairly on the free market, global market, or they just don't have the same labor laws. They don't have the need to pay wages to the same quality of life standard that we do in the US. So ultimately, cheaper inputs for a company lead to a cheaper product, which then enters the market at an advantage. So as a US consumer, would you pay more money for a more expensive product that was made and manufactured in the US, or would you take what is more cheap and convenient? And so many consumers take what's more cheap and convenient. Part of this process of starting this channel is that I want to give you an inside look at my company. I want you to see the work, the effort, the grind that it takes to manufacture in America. Because, like I said, there are companies here in the States, literally down the road from me, that have started the fight and are doing well and have championed others to do the same. Again, that being Origin in the textile apparel manufacturing industry, which had been dominated most recently by other countries. So all that being said, I want to introduce you to Maine Wood Concepts. Maine Wood Concepts is a wood product manufacturing company. We have 3 divisions. The first division is Maine Wood Turnings, where we manufacture wood, and industry term for a turning is when you're making a wood product, you need to have it in a dowel or a circular dowel form so that it can be spun on a lathe and then cut as it's spinning into a product that we use. Anything from a wooden button to a rolling pin to cribbage pegs, little drawer knobs for your wooden bureau that you have at home, doorknobs. So they're very functional items, but the process of manufacturing them in our industry language is called a turning. Our second division is Lutz Tools, and that is a tool handle company where we manufacture wooden handles. These go on files that people use, screwdrivers, all kinds of tools. So we have that second division. Our third division is Fletcher's Mill. Fletcher's Mill is a gourmet wood products line where we manufacture kitchenware. So salt and pepper mills. So, like when you're grinding a salt and pepper that's freshly cracked, like that is a salt and pepper mill. Salt and pepper shakers. So for the lazy people like me that just want to shake their salt out and season their food, we do that as well. We have rolling pins, everything from a tortilla French style rolling pin to your traditional one that has the ability to, glide across the dough. So that's what we do here. So we source all of our trees within 100 miles, roughly, radius, within the state of Maine from our factory. What that does is we are trying to onshore our domestic supply chain, and we're starting and have kept consistently with supporting our local tree harvesters. So when we look at the wood industry at large in the US, we are more or less the one of the final stages of the wood industry. So just to kind of give you probably the common sense rundown that you already know, trees grow on land, and that land is generally owned by a wood harvesting company. At least that's how it works in Maine. And so this tree growth area, it's a technical term, land that's held for tree growth. There's tax incentives, things like that, but it has a harvesting schedule. So, these companies will then contract or have their own loggers that go into the woods, harvest trees responsibly, not like clear cutting. Don't think like Lord of the Rings, Mordor style, like chop everything down and burn it. It's, it's done sustainably. These trees are brought back. We use the middle section of a tree. So if you're, the next time you're outside, go look at a tree. And I want you to basically cut it into thirds. The top third is going to be the top of the tree. The way that trees grow, the fibers in the wood at this section of the tree are best suited for the paper industry. So tops of trees are more or less going to the paper industry. The bottom of the trees are generally thicker and straighter. And so at this point, they're best suited for traditional lumber mills. So these are people producing 2x4s, or other construction material wood. Again, and that's because they can get the best yield since it's bigger, and they're trying to make a 2x4. They can make more 2x4s than, if it was a middle section and they only had 2 that they could get. So that leaves the middle section of the tree, and that's what my company buys. Industry term for that is called boltwood. So we buy timber boltwood, and that gets brought to our log yard. Right next to our log yard is our sawmill. And so we then take that timber and we rough saw it as green timber into lumber. We take our lumber and kiln dry it so it removes all the moisture so that it's a more straight and consistent material. And then we take that rough sawn lumber and then we'll dowel it again to get into that cylinder shape so that we can then spin that cylinder. And as it's spinning, we can have our knives cut that product into the end product that we're manufacturing. Then we take that product that we just cut, we'll sand it, smooth it out, remove any blemishes, and then we'll finish it. We either put wax or lacquer seal on it, or we paint it, and then we ship it. So that's kind of the process of what we do for our turnings. For our Fletcher's Mill line, what we do is the same thing, except there are metal components that we have vertically integrated on how to create and assemble here at our own factory. So let's just take a salt and pepper mill, we'll turn that. We then will finish the wood, so we'll spray it, hand paint it, or hand finish it with a seal. And then we'll assemble the inner components and then ship it. Our products, our rolling pins are sold on our website, on TikTok, on Instagram if you want to find us that way, as well as we have a program with Williams-Sonoma for our West Coast friends. Our salt and pepper mills, we're currently in a lot of boutique stores. So if you have your favorite home goods store in your local community, chances are we've either been there or we're sold somewhere nearby. So on the East Coast, Northeast, Leroux is a great example of a store that we're in. So all that being said, the trying to explain how at 31 years old I decided to buy a factory. It's in an industry that is really struggling, in a very rural part of our country, it's hard to articulate it, but it was something that I had to do. Practically speaking, I spent about a decade in the Army. I started out in the infantry and then worked over to Special Forces. As part of transitioning out of the Army into a civilian career, I knew I wanted to do business. So I went to Duke University for a global executive MBA. During that time, some of the buzzwords around I think it started from Harvard Business School, but there's an idea called entrepreneurship through acquisition, or ETA. And the concept is that when you're coming out of business school, you have a couple of glide paths available to you. You have corporate America, so you go into established companies, whether it's finance, banking, with the big names like JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. You can go that path. You can go, into other corporate companies. Yeah, you get all the names that you've already heard of. Or you can go consulting, or people like me try to use business school as an ability as a future entrepreneur to gain the skills that I think would be necessary. So hearing about entrepreneurship through acquisition, something clicked in my head that, I've developed a lot of skills in the military that I think would be applicable to owning a company, like being a leader. Like at the end of the day, the mission either fails or succeeds because of everything I did or failed to do, and I have to take responsibility for that. So I think that weight felt familiar, and as well as having to be forward thinking and always planning. So with that in mind, I felt like I had the confidence to buy a company. So I bought it with my brother. My brother, he has a background in law enforcement and then went to the University of Maine for law school, passed the bar, became a practicing attorney, and then made the business jump with me. So all that being said, at 31, bought this company. It does about many millions, about 5 million in revenue a year. And, we set about having to learn everything as fast as possible about business. So there's a lot of things that business school will teach, and then there's a lot of things that life will teach. And so while business school teaches you how to go through the numbers, how to generate the reports, how to do some of the more systematic corporate functions in small business, I only have learned through the School of Hard Knocks. And so, there's not really a course that I had access to in my pathway in business school on operating a small business. And I think that's something that's really deeply missing in our economy is really preparing for this role. Everything from managing HR to budgeting, forecasting, payroll, operating payroll, making health insurance company-wide decisions, managing customer relationships, managing vendor relationships, understanding like electricity utilage for heavy machinery, insurances. Like there's just a lot of external responsibilities that are less glamorous and less discussed, I would say, in a corporate environment, mainly because it's just not relevant. When you're in corporate, you can have specialization, and so you'll have an HR person, you'll have like division, like segment, like within a company. And so, if your job is sales, I couldn't really imagine in corporate America where a sales rep is having to make a HR decision. But in a small business, you wear a lot of hats, right? And so as a business owner, we have our HR person, but really, again, that responsibility doesn't go away. As an owner, I don't get to be like, our HR, maybe made a mistake in the hiring process, but, not my problem, right? Like as an owner, it is your problem. And so you just have to, the amount of information that you have to consume and then daily apply was just incredible. So that's something that we've been learning a lot. I thought that capitalism and entrepreneurship, that for me, that, I would want to be able to make my own schedule. I would want the freedom that I think not working for the man would provide. I would want, the money that would come from owning a business. And I found that, one, it's very hard to make money. It is very, very hard. Well, it's very hard to make profit, and to realize the gain and the profit margin of the money that you bring into your company. Second, it's that I didn't realize how much I craved the mission, purpose, and community that the military and special operations had provided for me in the past. That sense of community belonging was incredible. Like, showing up here as a platoon leader, I can remember times where, somebody's family life became my responsibility. Like, whether a soldier was having an argument with a spouse, and then let's say like the military police or MPs were called to their residence, like that became my problem as a PL. I had to discipline my soldier. I had to work through conflict resolution with him and their family. Like, so I never thought that there was going to be an impact outside of work in people's lives that I would be expected to have again in the civilian world. Like, I just figured, like, hey, everybody punches in, punches out 9 to 5. You might have your, your work functions, like where you, I don't know, you go to the bowling alley and have like a beer with people. Like, I figured that would be the extent of like socialization and relationships. But in small business, particularly in the place of rural Maine where I'm at, like, it's another family. And like, I love that. Like, I thought, and it sounds cliche, right? Like, it sounds fake. It sounds like a talking point, but like, the family dynamic emerges when the economic opportunities in a region are diminished. People rely on each other. People rely on companies to stay in business so that they can get a paycheck, they can have health insurance, and they can raise their families. So that's something that just became abundantly clear to me was my role as a business owner in very short order. And I'm super grateful for that. So looking forward, what I hope for this channel is to give you a very real experience of what is it like to engage in the American dream. Like, I'm pretty sick of looking at people in the world telling other people with absolute confidence and assurance that that they know how it's made. They know how to make millions, get the car, get the girl, get the house, live the lifestyle that is the American dream. And I'm not so sure that is the American dream. And I'm not sure it should be the American dream. I think a dream hey, how do we preserve an American way of life in an industry that is dying in an area of our country that needs jobs, economic prosperity? Maybe that's a dream. Hey, how can we, in an industry that's dying, in a part of our country that's rural, still produce world-class products that compete on the global market against foreign competitors who are incentivized and given every single advantage possible to beat us in our own backyard, but we figure out how to stop it? Like, that's the that's the American dream right there. Follow along. We'll see how it goes. It's hard. It is hard. But what I can share, everything from what I can legally share, what's moral, ethical, and what protects my company while still being authentic and real, I'm going to share. Ultimately, I want to encourage you, the viewer. I'm filming this video on a camera, right, on my iPhone in my office. I don't have a script in front of me. I'm not reading something. It's not polished. This isn't going to go through a bunch of editing. This is just me talking to you and hoping that you're listening and that you found me for a reason. And that reason is that you believe that there's something more for your life. You believe that every event that's happening around you in our country or in our world, you still have a role to play in the success of and for the benefit of the people you love. Like, if you're trying to be a father and provide, be a father and provide. Like, if you're trying to be a woman that's pushing against boundaries, be a woman that push against boundaries of like what society says or expects from you. Like, when it comes to business, I think there's also an underlying dynamic that you get to behave in business in a way that's different than how you behave in your normal life. What's expected, decent social behavior. In the Army, or at least in special operations, we call this zone the gray zone. Like, most people look through life as black or white, but in the middle, where the majority of what is going on in the world, there's like this murky gray zone where you're doing the best that you can to make the right decision in environments and contexts that are dynamic and changing all the time. I think business doesn't have a lot of gray zone. It's like, you got to do the right thing. And that means incurring costs personally. That means sleepless nights as an entrepreneur. That means losing weight or gaining weight because you don't know how to manage your stress, but you're just going through really complex, hard problems to solve. But you're the person that's willing to raise your hand and say, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to solve this problem. I'm going to go through the pain and endure the pain so that other people around me can benefit. So that's kind of like the higher calling to why we're doing this. Like, again, I said, like, my company is awesome. People are great. So it's not all like doom and gloom, but I would say if there's one thing that's missing in a young person's life is like the sober realization of like what you're stepping into. The hero's journey from Joseph Campbell, when he's talking about the different stages of the hero's arc, I think there's like 12 or maybe 17 stages that, you know, a hero's journey evolves around. Part of that is like the call. Like, you have to hear the whisper of who you're meant to be echo in your mind now. Something is pulling you forward. Something is calling you out of your humdrum, like 9-to-5 mundane life and saying you can go do something that benefits other people and forces you to be the best version of yourself possible. Like, and so that's the adventure. And I think capitalism and entrepreneurship is an adventure to be had. Like, go out into the market, compete, make money, use that money to make others people's lives better before your own, and then keep doing it and doing it and doing it again until your company is stable, your position in the market is secured, so that you can look into the future, anticipate problems, retool your company to meet those problems and challenges, and equip and train people to be a part of that process. So like, you can do it. We can be very practical. My ask for you as a viewer is to, one, like, subscribe, and then comment, and keep your comments focused on like, what do you want to learn? Do you want to learn how to buy a company? Do you want leadership? Do you want like personal encouragement on how to weather and develop grit for the hard times? Like, just throw some comments in there. That'll help me like think through like what to talk about. But more importantly, it's like to deliver value. Like, we need more entrepreneurs to take responsibility, and that responsibility can happen at any age. Like you have opportunities, whether you want business ownership or you want more responsibility and leadership within your company because you want to get paid more or you want a promotion. Like, all these desires are good if you're harnessing them for good, as well as it's natural. Like, it's natural to look around you in the world and want to do something to improve it. It's natural to look at your company, your organization, your products that you're doing, the services that you're providing, and think, how can we improve, make this better, provide more value to our customers, improve our organization, make my life better and easier because I don't have to deal with the same problem every single day that I know how to fix. And we just collectively, if we're all doing that, it's going to make our society like a lot better. It makes us function better. It makes going to work more enjoyable. It makes running a company less traumatic if you have somebody that, you know, is like in the trenches with you, being like, hey man, I had a brutal $100,000 increase in health insurance from 2025 to 2026. Totally didn't expect that to happen. And that really cut out our budget and made our operating cash flow management just really get out of balance. And so we had to find other financing, and that other financing is like super predatory. And so we're like digging a hole, but we have to keep digging the hole because we know there's a way out. So like, how do you go to sleep? Like, you know, like, so this channel can take a lot of different twists and turns, but I just do want to say thank you for watching. Much of the future content I'm putting in your hands, so shoot comments out about what you'd like. Remember to like the video and subscribe to it. So appreciate it. Talk to you soon.